What is going on, and welcome back to another episode of the Snapchat. Today we've got some awesome subjects for you as we talk about the updates and quality of life content we want to come to Marvel Snap the most. We're also going to talk about underrated cards, the cards that are hidden gems, the ones you don't use that you should be using. Leech came out of nowhere and now he is everywhere, and we've got some other ones for you. And lastly, Pool 4 and 5 cards have been out in the wild for a long time. So we're going to talk about our final impressions, which ones are worth the token shop currency and which ones you should pass on and just wait for a later time. So as always, guys, I am joined by the one, the only, the wonderful Alex. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing great, Cozy. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, buddy. We have amazing topics today. Like, I can't wait to have this conversation with you because, like, honestly, are these not some of the most interesting things we've talked about in the last several weeks? Like, these are, like, critical to what's going on in Marvel Snap right now. It's top of the mind for almost everybody, and I get to discuss it with you. I couldn't be happier.
Super meaty subjects today, guys. As always, we're going to talk about 3 topics on my channel and 3 topics over on Alex's. And again, now we are officially all over podcast centrals. We've got on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We'll put that all in the links below if you are an audio listener. Thanks for supporting us and downloading those podcasts. So, Alex, before we get to the subjects today, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. After only a month and a half of being out, Marvel Snap won Mobile Game of the Year. And just hats off, man. I mean, completely hats off. It beat Genshin Impact. Huge communities. I posted a post about it, and I had other communities coming in and angry. That's when you know it did something, fantastic and great. And boy, does that make me excited for the future of the game and the eyeballs on the game altogether. Dude, how great is that it won Game of the Year, Mobile Game of the Year?
I mean, Marvel Snap winning Mobile Game of the Year is not only extremely well deserved, but like after a month and a half, like you suggested, like it's insane. Like it's unprecedented. It is a fitting reward for what is absolutely one of the absolute best games out there. My favorite game. Is it your favorite game? I think it might be, Cozy.
Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
Honestly, it's a tremendous accomplishment. And like, if you're here, if you're joining us for the first time, because like, hey, what's this new game about? Welcome. You're in the right spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing about it is its ability to welcome in new players and keep in the competitive at the end game in Marvel Snap. And then on top of that, the biggest thing it's done, the only thing I've seen this happen before is with Hearthstone, is welcoming in players into the card genre as a whole. There's so many players that don't play card games. Let me know. Did you even play a card game before Snap? Most of you and some of you did not, and it's so welcoming to that genre of gaming. Alex, what are we talking about on your side of things? We've covered my topics. What do you got?
Well, we'll be talking about how the bundle prices are too damn high. We're also going to have a conversation about the leader and leech problem that has completely invaded the meta over the last week or so, like completely taking everyone by surprise. And then we're going to talk about the ranking of deck archetypes. We've had an opportunity to let the meta settle a little bit, so we're going to be ranking the archetypes as they stand currently.
Oh my gosh, I know Leech, people I think forgot was even in the game, and now he is everywhere, man. Can't wait to talk about those subjects. Well, let's go ahead and just break it on open, man. We had a good week of Snap this week. A lot of craziness things as these cards have kind of settled into the meta. But I want to talk about our first subject today. We've got loads to break down here, and this is one where I especially want to hear for those on YouTube down in the comments below what you guys want to have as well. But let's talk about updates coming to Snap. Now, Alex, I thought for sure we were going to get the roadmap this week that talked about it. It was going to come in December, kind of halfway through right before the holidays. We have not gotten that yet, so I will wait and see what that is. But what are some updates that you want to come to the game? First, we've got quality of life ones, just the little touches that really make a big impact and difference. And then the massive ones, right? I mean, friend battles we can leave off. I mean, we know friend and competitive, that's coming, right? But what are some other things that you would love as you play the game to be added?
Okay, I'll start us off with 2. One really small thing, like literally quality of life, as you might say. And the other one is a little larger, which is like near and dear to my heart. The first, can we make it so that when you hit the escape button on PC, it doesn't unpin the card in the token shop? Do you know that I lost Galactus because I went to back to another screen? I hit the escape key, it backed to the other screen, but it also unpinned Galactus. I was like, oh my. So talk about small quality of life.
I lost Bass. Yep, I lost Bass this morning. 100%. I actually decided not to get Noel. I was like, I'm going to keep my Bass pin. Lost it this morning. At least put a confirmation. Like, I get why they did escape, maybe. I don't know. But, like, put a confirmation. Like, are you sure you want to unpin this card that you pinned for a specific reason? Dude, Yes, and on that note, I actually wasn't going to start with this feature, but a quality of life feature I might as well throw in there that I want to talk about since we're on the subject of pinning is, Alex, I want to see a pass system as well. Because we don't get to see and pick the cards on our own choosing, I like that you can pin a card, but because they kind of show back up, how great would it be? Hey, thanks for the M'Baku offer. Really appreciate that. I don't want to see this card again in the token shop, as long as I live. Pass it, and be able to kind of throw that out. I think that would solve a lot of these rotation problems that we're seeing.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Is there an also option to just pass on every variant? I mean, that could be a potential interesting thing too. But no, then if you can never get those variants ever again, like I'll feel really sad. But
right.
Yeah, I think that's a neat idea because like when you see M'Baku, you're like, oh great, and then Namor variants coming next.
Yep.
So it's like you just don't even want to log in, but you have to, or else like you don't skip those cards.
Right. Well, so we'll get to like the token shop and things like that. I've got some things I want to add there. One thing I want to talk about, smaller, may not pertain to everybody. Maybe it's just me as a content creator, but I want to bring up the card screen, the organization screen. I think it's pretty good. I think it could be a lot better, Alex. And the things that I want to see that are added, number one, I don't know. 20 decks is a lot, but I still feel like it's not enough. Like, it's just not enough for just all the different kind of decks you can have. So I would like, obviously they're probably going to add more of those over time.
I'm 100% for more deck slots. It sounds crazy to complain about 20. I'm always at the cap. Always.
Yeah.
Because I always have like some that like I have like my go-tos, like my Wong goings and stuff like that. And then I have like my like 9 or 10, 12 experimental decks I'm constantly testing and working on, right? So it's like, yeah, I totally get it. I'd love to have like, give me triple, give me 60. I'll pay for them too.
Right? And even with the like regular player, like feature locations, hot location decks, like even if you just go per archetype, there's, at least, several archetypes. So that's there too. And then to kind of close on this screen, I think this screen looks good, right? The card screen, all this is fine. The deck code feature is nice. I think it's a good feature. I think they can clean it up. I think they can make it a bit better, maybe more text friendly, more like, hey, here's my quick deck. Right now, it's kind of janky is the best word I could come up with it. So that's something I think just a little quality of life thing, just looking at this screen, things that I would like adjusted myself. Again, you guys should know this by now, but please use these sort features, right? Like a huge way to see your most recent cards is going here. You can go to, hey, what cards can I upgrade? You can go here. So make sure you guys are doing that. For those audio listeners, it's in the bottom left-hand corner to adjust that.
We need proper events. Like we need events that like not just make sense, but like for instance, we have an event running right now with like what's it called? Like the DJ scratch CD. I don't even know what it is. What am I even saying? You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Like the DJ thing.
I do know what you're talking
sitting
about.
there with the CD spinning.
But here's the thing. It's like, I know what you're talking about, but I guarantee you there's a viewer right now that's like, what in the devil are these guys talking about? And I'll tell you why. Because it's impossible. And I think there's something to do. There's no way they would do this on purpose. It has to be with something about like website traffic, going to that specific URL. Why would they do this interface is beyond me. But guys, there has been things like free Ironheart variants. There's been this gold giveaway thing to spin your records. It is in such a terrible location, man. And it's a great idea. Community events are awesome, Alex. Yeah. But it 100% agree. Do you think it should just be another tab? What do you think?
I don't know what to think, but all I'm going to say is I primarily play on PC. I played for days and didn't even know the event was happening. And it was news. Like I was streaming on Twitch when I found out because people were like, hey, Alex, did you hand in your CDs or whatever? I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, go to the news tab. I didn't. It's just empty. And everyone's like, what? Like everyone's like discussing in chat. Like, what are you even talking about? Everyone's like arguing. I'm like, is there a new event? And everyone's like, yeah, check your phone. I check my phone. It's like there. I'm like, oh my God. And it's not even at the top. It was like in the middle of like the notification list. I was like, what? Yeah. Like it was so bizarre. I cover this game with content every day and I didn't know this event was happening.
Dude, I get asked to make videos about those events, and I'm like, I'm not going to take the time to do that, but I will tell you guys that if you go to the news section, yes, there's a thing that says, like, event happening, and it looks like a goal. You can tell no one's doing it, because, like, I don't even think we've reached the first tier on the event right now. Like, yeah, it's so hard to spin your records or whatever the heck is going on. But on that note, I will say, pretty sick that they did the whole song with Martin Garrix, dude. That was such a good. That was such a awesome. I think it has 1.5 million views on YouTube right now. Like that's
incredible.
It's really great. And we'll get to some of the stuff that happened over last week before our next subject. But Alex, let's talk about some other things I want to see come. Now, you might have saw, I don't know if you saw the video, but finally I've released a kind of a beta for a live deck tracker. I know there's kind of post-history deck trackers out there, but I think it brought up a great subject and something I would love to see. And I know so many of you guys are on the same board here. Would love to see more of a history system in Marvel Snap. I don't think they're going to come out with deck trackers in-game, no way, but I think at least having a history of what happened, current events, you know, if you lost something from your blade, discard. If, you know, Sakar played your card down, which you could see, but either way, it'd be nice to see these things. This is something big that I want to see, and I think the best way to implement that is when they do a big UI fix to the match mode altogether.
Yeah, it's actually funny you say that because on my list, PC UI is the biggest thing. And I wonder if those like lack of, I'll say, features is a result of them trying to like really streamline a mobile UI, right? And so like on PC, we're essentially just running a nice emulator. I don't even know if it's nice, honestly, but we're basically running an emulator. And it's awesome. Like I still like it. Like it's my preferred way to play, but clearly there's a lot of real estate being wasted, right? So I think that when they make the proper PC UI, which was on the original kind of like dev roadmap that they had released, I bet you they are able to better experiment with a lot of those features because I personally would love it. And for the record, Cozy, your deck tracker looks incredible.
Oh, dude.
Like absolutely incredible. Like it's like everything else you do. Like there's so much attention to detail. It's fantastic. So yeah, like PC UI and that stuff I think is huge.
Well, dude, first of all, thank you, man. I appreciate it. A lot of love. It's been in the making for a long time. Early beta, but you know, I'm excited to try to get that out to everybody. Yeah, I would agree. I think, you know, that's what surprised me when they launched the game so early. I was like, oh, wow. Like, the PC version isn't done really yet. And it feels, right now, that's why it feels like a core mobile game at the moment. I think once they really bring together, which we know, you know, we've seen Hearthstone. We know they can do it. We know that they have the capabilities to do it. I hope they really expand on those options of customizable, you know, backgrounds and just things to bring the Marvel Universe to life as far as the battle and the matches go. Fully agree. I hope that's something that they bring, and I think a history mode is just going to fit in there, you know, kind of perfectly. And that's up there on the biggest things that I would love to have. Alex, outside of those, though, you know, I know a lot of people have assumed that those are the things that we want to see. With the matches, I would love to see some better. It's not that the emotes aren't great now, and we don't need toxic emotes, okay? Because people are just going to spam those. But I wish there was a couple more emotions I could display, if you will, when I'm playing matches with people. I know the emotes that no one uses really in the bottom right on specific cards is one way to do that. But I think it'd be great to introduce more of those kind of communication styles. You know, open chats will never happen. You know, that would just be as toxic as it could be. But little things like that during the match to make that whole thing just a bit more fun, you know, for the random person that I'm playing on the internet.
Yeah, you know what I think would be a cool idea? Like, for instance, like, let's say you have all those emotes, like, you know, like the snap one and hello. If they could redo those a little bit, and like, for instance, whoever your avatar is, imagine those were voiced by the avatar picture you've selected. Wouldn't that make the avatars so much more valuable to have, cool. Like, if your avatar is Doctor Strange or Heimdall, then like you hit hello and it's Heimdall that says hello?
I agreed. Like, bringing something to the avatar customization system would be really cool. Now I want to talk about something that I don't think will ever come. If I'm going to be honest, this is a feature that I would love to come to the game. I don't think it ever will. And because of probably just the way it works behind it. So here's the deal, right? Variants are fun. I think variants are fun. The thing about variants, though, and people have asked me to make a video on variants, to like rank them. And I'm like, hey guys, you can't rank art, right? Like I like things that you aren't gonna like, vice versa. Just look at pixels. People are either like they're the worst or, you know, the favorite. So what could fix this, right? I get a mystery Magneto. And I happen to hate Magneto. I don't, but if someone does, right? They don't want that variant. How cool would it be, Alex, if you could trade variants? They would have to really figure that out. But it's like card trading, right? Like, there's no value you get. You would have to both have the card maybe to make it established. But I think it'd be such a cool system because you could say, oh man, my best friend's got a really cool Silver Surfer that I want, and I have his whatever, and we just swap. Now, they'd have to figure that out, and I think people would still buy plenty of them. I think that the purchasing would still happen behind it. I don't know. I think the variant system altogether could get touched up just a hinge. You know, we said on a previous Snapchat, when you buy a variant, hey, give it the boosters to get it all the way upgraded at least one time, right?
100%.
Little things that could really bring up the variant system just a bit more, in my opinion.
I think that's, by the way, still one of the best ideas you've ever had. I can't believe it wasn't implemented. Like, boosters are basically like they're just kind of gone with the exception of the season pass free caches. Like, I think you nailed it. Like, we talked about how variants feel expensive as it is. I think that would have been such a nice touch. Like, I still think that's one of the best ideas I've heard in a very long time.
Dude, well, I would love for it to come. They've already experimented it kind of with the Apocalypse bundle, right? But that was more in a bundle fashion. We'll talk about that on your channel.
I got one more update. I don't want to interrupt you, but this one's big. It's worth interrupting because
Let's go.
it is a social system. Because I have friends that play Marvel Snap, and I never know when they're playing. In fact, it would be great to play against them. We talked about that before. That's coming. We know that. But I do think a social system is important. I do think that one of the things that keeps us motivated to play games is having friends that are playing games. I think that the social elements of playing is cannot be understated. I remember a long time ago when I played World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft was a good enough game, but the reason I really wanted to play was because I wanted to be with my guildmates in a raid. I wanted to be amongst the people that I've been playing with. And I think that if you can establish some sort of social system within Marvel Snap, I think that only serves to really benefit not only the game but the people playing it. Because if you have a social system that really pays dividends for the players and really helps them establish kind of meaningful connections, whether it be like guild systems or whatever, like those are players that are going to stick around longer. And I think that like getting someone in the door of Marvel Snap is one thing, but being sticky as a game and keeping people in our community, and like this is an amazing game. The gameplay speaks for itself. But I do think a social system would be one added layer to help us retain more players and overall build a bigger community.
Yeah, community is everything. I think in gaming, community is everything. Heck, in life, right? Like, if I got really good at a skateboarding trick and I learned it and I didn't have anyone to share that with who gave a damn about skateboarding, it's not that cool, man. But then if you have, community like, dude, I mastered the kickflip, and someone's like, oh, that's so awesome, right? So it's the same with Snap. It's like being able to share your experiences in some way and your collections. And it would be great to be able to just go to your username, click, and I can see like, oh, these are the decks Alex has used in the last week or in the last day. These are his favorite decks. Most percentage used or anything like that. Like, little things to add that community feel is so vital, and just to be able to communicate things like, hey, these are my decks, should I get Maximus, whatever. I think you hit the nail on the head. Community is what really thrives games and keeps them around for a long time. 100% agree there, man. I think that's at the top of the list. I want to close with this, and this is its own subject, and we'll talk, I'm sure, about it on the bundle pricing, but we'll touch on it here. The collector tokens, they were great. I think they were great. Fantastic. It was a good update. Overall, you can now buy cards that you want. You can, whatever, right? They need to fix the collector tokens and the exclusivity behind them. That's a quality of life that has to happen. Add it to the ranking. Give motivation there. Add it to season passes. That's just a small resource update that I think just needs a little touch up, Alex. Just resource updating, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like the token system was a good idea. But like, obviously, I think they're always listening. They're probably getting a lot of data behind the scenes to help them make informed decisions. It's just a matter of like doing what's best, I think, for the overall player base. But I think you got it 100%. I think it's something that definitely needs to be looked at.
Yeah, because I think everything feels right about it outside of just how hard it is to get them. And we'll talk that more about it on your side of things. Let's go ahead and get to our next subject, man. I think those are great things that we would love to come to the game. Now, we're going to talk about underrated hidden gems. All right. And at first, I don't know if people realize like, this is not a big subject. Just look at Leech. We're going to talk about the Leech problem on your side. But he was an underrated card, Alex, that has gone up massively. And I want to talk about cards now that are also kind of, they're hidden, right? They're under the radar. They're not talked about enough. Alex, I've got a few today that I think are ones that could certainly be plugged in more. They're known as good cards, some of them, but they're not played. Give me some cards that are underrated or hidden gems. Start with one.
All right, I want to start with one, and it's funny because I do think that this card is played on occasion, but it's Colossus. Like, Colossus is one of those cards that once you get out of pool one, like, everyone just abandons. And I do think this card is better than people give it credit for. I mean, regularly, if in like a negative zone or in a Coccia, like this is just free value, a 2/5, 2/6. synergizes well with ongoing lists with Spectrum. Just a reliable card. The one thing, if you want to buff Colossus, by the way, you know what would be so good, Cozy? You know what would be so good?
Tell me.
When Yondu comes around, he's like, does a little whistle, and then all of a sudden Colossus just like, no.
Yeah, slaps
slaps
the red.
You're not destroying me in the deck.
Back
I'm
off,
Colossus,
Mary Poppins.
Yeah. I can't be destroyed.
For sure. Colossus. I like the pick there. Can I ask where you used him? Because, like, for me, I like, now that I got Luke Cage too, like, and I love Luke Cage now. I'm a big fan of Luke Cage. We'll talk about that in the next subject. Where are you liking him? Because I feel like him not being able to move, I don't really care about. The destruction factor is nice, but armor's everywhere now. In the power reduction I get from Luke, where do you like him the most for, like, different people? Like, convince them. Like, where do you use him?
Honestly, that's the thing. I feel like he is a little niche right now. I do use him in like Wong-going lists and stuff like that. To expand him is a little difficult outside of pool 1 and 2. So like I don't have a good answer for you, Cozy.
No,
like
fine.
maybe it's underplayed because like there's a good reason why it's underplayed. Like it is a little too niche.
Yep.
But I do like the card. I just wish maybe there was more viability for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's one that I think they've done a great job with power creep. I just don't want to see him get like outdated because he has a very specific niche right behind him, and I hope they keep that with Colossus, and it's very true to the character as well. I like that, and 2-3 value is never bad, right? Never bad, especially like you said, Spectrum can boost up his numbers too in that destroyer build. Now I've got a couple. I've got one for each cost. I try to go on a cost basis. We're already in the 2 costs. I'll bring up my 2 costs, and I think I've brought this up a lot. Goose was the first one that I was like, all right, I'm going to talk about Goose. Don't see it enough. Such a good counter for so many different decks out there that people can start, slotting in there. In fact, I wish we had the opposite of Goose. I wish we had a nobody can play 1, 2, or 3 cost to shut down Sarah Miracle decks. But I want to talk about my lady, Invisible Woman. I think Invisible Woman is up there on a slept on card, man. And mainly it's because early turns are somewhat important. However, the big combos to set up the giant nukes that you set up in Marvel Snap, people see them coming. It's so obvious. Half of them are so obvious. But when you can hide them behind Invisible Woman, and you get the bonus of them just always thinking you're going to play Hela, this is a card that doesn't get enough interaction. I'll say, Alex, that it's a bit wonky. Like Kingpin is a great example. People thought my Kingpin combo wasn't going to work because of it says until the game ends it doesn't trigger. But it does, right? If you move a card with Kingpin and it's under Invisible Woman, he will crush them still on turn 6, even though it's the end of the game. Have you used Invisible Woman? Do you enjoy her? She's a 2/2 with an ongoing. I love her, man.
Yeah, I've actually experimented with Invisible Woman in a number of different decks. I often use Invisible Woman in conjunction with like Wong Mystique. The live variant upgrades here. Yeah, so I often use Invisible Woman with the Wong Mystique combination. I like to hide Wong there. But obviously Invisible Woman is like an absolute just big doggo fan because as soon as Invisible Woman comes out, if they have Cosmo, you know exactly where it's going. Obviously Hela decks benefit from Invisible Woman to protect the Hela from being inadvertently discarded early. But I think you kind of got it right. I feel like this is one of those cards that like has a very specific niche, is not overpowered because like it is a 2/2, which feels a little on the weaker side, but its effect is tremendous, but also like very easily counterable. Unless of course, Cozy, you can come up with a very unique way to play Invisible Woman into cards that actually aren't on reveals. So when Doggo Cosmo comes out, you're just laughing because they're like, haha, they think it's a Hela deck or something. And meanwhile, you drop Khazar Blue Marvel and Onslaught.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's where I think she's gonna, I think we're gonna continue to see her because she has such a unique ability, to herself.
I got a couple too. What about Sandman? Like, can we talk about Sandman for a sec?
Mr.
Like,
Sandman.
we're seeing Sarah Miracle lists nonstop. We're seeing Sarah into, 3-card turn 6s with Silver Surfer. Like, Sandman just says GG, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that Sandman's a really interesting card that I'm seeing none of.
Yeah, Sandman. I just did this whole counter video and just how to counter the top decks. And Sandman was the answer to a lot of them. Here's the thing. This is my thoughts about Sandman, because I agree. I do. Sandman in the beta was played a lot because Mr. Negative just ruled the world. And I think Sandman is one of those cards that come out when he needs to, right? Like when Mr. Negative starts to take over the meta, Sarah Miracle, it's like, all right, Mr. Sandman, time to shut it all down. Here's my issue with Sandman. If I were to pick one, okay? First of all, he's played on turn 4, all right? And the players can still play down all of their cards on turn 4. So you're effectively only getting 2 turns of the 1-card limit, which you either have to be way ahead, like you have to plan that and have the right draw and be ahead, and then you can take that advantage away from your opponent, shut down that death wave, like you said. Feels a little bit off. You know, I think maybe if he's going to be a one cost, maybe reduce his cost, or one power, maybe reduce his cost. But I think what would help out way more is one power, dude. I don't know why he's one power. I feel like that is very weird. I feel like because of him not being able to do anything on the turn that he's played, one power just doesn't represent behind his overall. You don't have to make him crazy, but like a 4-3, man, that's kind of what I'm thinking with him, because he feels very underwhelming to play him. Like even Spider-Man, right? You look at him, he's a 4-3. He just feels underwhelming for what he's going to do for the rest of the battle. 4-1 is trash, bro. Like that is a garbage,
absolute trash,
garbage stat line. But then his effect is huge, and so he's underrated in that regard. You have to build the deck around him, and the reason I don't think he's played is because you've got to really know what you're doing early game, and then you plan on late game as well. It's tough.
It is tough. Like I'm not like all these cards. I think we're slowly realizing might be underplayed and underrated for a reason. You know what I mean? Like maybe like the game is so tightly balanced that like we're touching on the reasons why we don't see Sandman so often. Yeah,
I mean, but I think you hit the nail on the head. I think he is underrated. I never see him. I truly never see him. Like Destroyer would be his best build, because the decks you only play one card at a time either way, I think are where he fits, you know, the best. But you hit the nail on the head, man. If you're sick of Sarah, you're sick of losing Mr. Negative, take him down with the Sandman, dude. I like the pull there. I want to talk about a couple. Now, this is a 4-cost that everybody knows is good, or at least I hope you do by now. But if you see her in the token shop, I think you get her. I think she fits into most of the decks in the game as a plug and play that people don't realize. And that's Rescue. Now, first of all, just the variant is top 5. Top 5.
Awesome variant, yeah.
Alex, let's get your once podcast description to the audio listeners of what you're looking at.
It looks like a red-haired, beautiful woman who's wearing an Iron Man suit, gently grasping a star.
You know, I was getting lost, but the gently grasping pulled me right back in. That was beautiful. That was beautiful, guys. I know you guys like that in the comments, and audio listeners, you're welcome. Rescue, guys. I think Rescue is a card that I'm starting to plug into seriously everything I play. A 4-9 that you can play reliably is so damn strong. And let me tell you where you want to use it the most. Now, I've already told you guys about these combos, right? Rescue into Professor X is a no-brainer. I mean, you're effectively getting 12 on that lane, right? And that's such a massive amount of power at the very end for Professor X. Captain Marvel works with her. A couple other cards, or maybe a Guardians of the Galaxy, because they're going to definitely try to play on your rescue lane if they know you're playing there. Spider-Man to shut down the lane and take it over. But one thing that I'm really enjoying Rescue with, and something that I don't think people realize, is if you go to your 5-cost cards and you look at the ones with strong effects but low power, this is where Rescue makes up that power differential, Alex. And that's, I think, the biggest piece of her kit. So, for instance, Leech. I think Leech is getting played a lot right now. He only has 3 power, man. Well, that's fine, because if you add an additional 5 to that power, you're getting yourself a plenty of that value. It doesn't matter where you played Leech, right? It's still going to be fantastic for that. Claw, man, that's a massive amount on one lane, 6 on the other. You know, I can keep going with these other cards that have magic, right? 5-3, underwhelming. All right, 5-8, I'll take it, right? And you're set up. I love Rescue, dude. I think she definitely needs to be out there more. And then finally, dude, we won't talk about it long, but I honestly, honest to God, I think our boy Vision is highly slept on. I think Vision is a card. Let me go to the better variant. I think Vision is a card that I'm using a lot as well, man. Talk about a follow-up to Rescue that I've been playing in a lot of my decks. The reason I like Vision is for the 5-turn play. First of all, 7 power is plenty. It's more than Captain Marvel, but you get to decide, right? So you get to decide what the winning lane is. Really, you have to guess, but it's a bit more. It's a bit more. Not to shame your girl. I know you love. Miss Marvel there, or Captain Marvel. But Vision. The biggest thing I like about him is leader. Leader's a big problem right now. We'll talk about the leader Leech problem, but I think Vision is able to clog up a lane that they weren't expecting, and it just makes their decision a lot tougher on turn 6. Do you play Vision at all?
It's funny you say that. I was playing Vision last night. I did a ramp list because both yourself and Super Tech God have convinced me to like play more Electro. Like that is the
Love him.
one card. Electro is one of those cards where I'm like, I looked at it like it's fine. I'll just play Psylocke. Electro is one of those cards I don't think I ever gave a proper chance to. We all have cards like that. Admit it. We all have cards that
100%.
other people think are good that we just leave alone. And Electro for me was the one. You and Super Tech God were like, you have to play Electro. So I started making Electro lists, and I've been playing Vision in my Electro list because it comes out basically on turn 4, and it's beautiful. I've loved it. It's been such a good card.
It's fantastic.
And the mind games part of it, I just don't move them. And people don't know what to do.
Right, dude? And then if you get like Bar Sinister, game over. If you get one of the other ones, game over. He's so good. He's a good location card, man. Definitely up there on the list. I know we spent a lot of subjects time there, guys. We told you, meaty subjects. Double patty beef meaty. Let's go ahead and now get to our last segment. And we're actually going to be going to another screen for visual viewers. We've got a tier list. We are going to be ranking all of the pool 4 and 5 cards as our last impression. They've been in the meta for a while now, Alex. We can kind of see, where they're fitting in. Are they worth grabbing? So what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to rank every single card from S tier, F tier, and then we're also going to say, should you buy them with the token shop in pool 3? After it, let's go to the tier list. All right, guys, so as you can see over in this direction right here, we've got some lovely rankings for our new cards in Marvel Snap. We've ranked them once before, but we're going to kind of give our final rankings as we both have tested or seen them out in the wild. So, Alex, I'm going to pull a card. I want you to say gut reaction of which placement you would put, and then we'll go ahead and kind of give our overall quick thoughts on them to kind of go through them somewhat quickly, right? For the audio listeners, go ahead and break down the categories from top of the top of the tier list to the bottom, Alex.
We've got at the top, one could call S tier. We call it perfect. And then we have fantastic in most decks. Down from there, we have reliant on other cards. And then we just have pass. Like, no thanks, we'll pass. And then finally, the lowest of the low. The most putrid cards are going to be in the category named makes Quicksilver look good.
Oh, they got to be pretty bad to make Quicksilver look good, but there's maybe a couple in here, Alex. Let's go ahead and start with our first card up. I'm going to say it in alphabetical order. We've got Absorbing Man. Gut reaction, where do you want to put him?
My gut reaction is it's reliant on other cards.
Okay, I like it. Do you have Absorbing Man? Or have you seen him play?
I do not.
Okay, and that's fair. So if I was going to be honest, I would put Absorbing Man here when I didn't have him. He's boosted up to fantastic most decks now. I've moved him up from the playing of him a lot. And I didn't realize how much use he would have later into these decks that I didn't even... I kind of put him as like, okay, he's good in on-reveal decks. And then the more I started to use him with these combinations of really any archetype, man. Destroy, Taskmaster stuff. You can do discard Absorbing Man. Silver Surfer, he has a lot behind him. He actually does. He's still a little buggy. It might be intended, might not. But I definitely could see why. So you would pass him until probably after pool 3 in your token shop?
Yeah, it's funny because I had the opportunity to buy Absorbing Man and I skipped it. I chose not to. And if you're in pool 3 right now, I think that for your 1,000 credits, because this is going to be 3,000 credits, there are better purchases. Do I buy Absorbing Man or do I buy Wong, Mystique, and Patriot? It's not even close.
Yeah.
Right? I don't. But with that being said, I think you sold me. I'm willing to raise him up a tier to fantastic in most decks. But he is also pretty reliant on other cards.
Yeah, a mix of both. I would say if you are all in on Silver Surfer, all in, then he's great with Brood and to get 2 other Broods. Dude, he hatches. This man, I don't know where they come from, but Broodlings come out of this man. And you get another 2 other... You don't want to know, man. Look at this guy. Anyway, I've been able to plug him into a lot more decks. I've split him a couple times. I'm enjoying him a ton. Next up, we have Agent Coulson.
Oh, man.
I know.
Oh, man. Why'd you do this to me?
I know.
I want Agent Coulson to be perfect. I love him so much. It's literally one of my favorite characters in Marvel. Oh, but he's probably a pass. He's probably a pass, Cozy. I don't want to pass him.
Man, yeah. How the mighty have fallen. I know you were high up on Coulson. I don't have Coulson. This is the one I've been offered a ton. If you are a Devil Dinosaur Staple Man, which I think is one of the best decks in the game to play.
It's one of my favorite too.
And or Silver Surfer, Easily, I think he's here. In fact, this is probably where I would ultimately have him because of the Devil Dinosaur synergy and the 3-4. How about a Tuma?
The Tuma for me is a pass.
Okay. Yeah, Atuma's split for me. I think he's between these two. I think Atuma's making a lot more sense in Zero decks. He's making a lot more sense in Destroyer decks. But those are the only two he fits in. And there's other cards that can do that job. I hate to do it because I do want him because I've been playing a lot of Zero, but I'm going to put him in the pass as well.
I regret putting Coulson in pass. I'm like having so much stress about it.
Here.
Can we put him in relying on other cards?
There you go. How about Bast, man? How about Bast? Where are you putting Bast?
It's probably, I mean, for me, I don't want to say perfect because perfect is such a high praise, but it's fantastic in most decks at the very least.
Yeah, I think Bast, here's the thing. Perfect as in like, yeah, it is a perfect card. It's a very good card.
That's awesome.
It's top of the, really the top of the list for the most part on just like value it brings to one deck. I think though, if you think about it, even when we talk about small power adjustments, even adding 1 power, like, oh, that's a lot. How about 3? How about adding 3 to Mr. or 4 to Mr. Negative? Or, you know, completely changing these negative builds that we've been seeing. She fits so well into there, and she's probably my #1 candidate that they might adjust. If they don't do Mr. Negative, I think they might touch up Bast, but we'll have to see. She's extremely valuable, and I also lost her to the escape pin feature. Destroys me. I could put her here, but I'm going to put her there just for the definition of the tiers. If this was S tier, she would be at the top. Awesome. Let's go to Galactus, man. I think this is still a card that has a lot of opinion on it.
Galactus. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I pinned Galactus and I got to 6,000 credits or tokens and I unpinned Galactus. So I literally passed on Galactus.
I did too.
However, it is worth saying that I do think that it's reliant on other cards. It slots perfectly in the middle. I don't think it's underpowered for the effect it has. But I do think that like Absorbing Man and Bast are better.
Yeah, I think we might see him come back and rise again. My biggest problem with Galactus is that you just see him coming a mile away. I think I've lost one game of a recent that I didn't see him coming. And I don't know why. Maybe they just weren't playing the right kind of things. If you can make him work in decks that aren't using the most obvious other combinations. But yeah, he's definitely more reliant. I don't think he's a pass. I passed on him for the token cost. It's Galactus, greatest animation, but he still stays in that kind of medium tier unless you're all in on him. Helicarrier.
Helicarrier is one of those cards that like I don't have yet, but I think if I think I can make work. I want to say reliant on other cards, but ultimately I do think this is probably a pass for the most part. It's a card that I really want to test more. I feel like it's better than people are giving it credit for, but I can totally see why like your tokens are definitely better placed elsewhere. Like if I pull Helicarrier, I'm pretty happy about it. Like it's one of those cards I think has a place in the meta, and it's just a matter of like getting my hands on it.
I hope no one bought that with tokens, man. That's just burning tokens. Yeah, it's worse than a Tuma for sure. I think it'll be good eventually. It's good power. The discard mechanic. Discard is just missing. It's good. We'll talk about the archetypes on your channel. Discard's just missing just a little something. And when that comes around, which I think it's going to be, I won't spoil it, but there's some cards coming in the future that I think are really going to add to Discard's value. I'd put it as a pass too. Luke Cage. We both have Luke Cage.
Nick Cage for me is definitely reliant on other cards, but actually perfect. So I'll let you decide this one. I will take offense if you don't put him in perfect, or just simply because it's Nicolas Cage, but I do respect the fact that if you put it reliant on other cards, that is probably where it actually needs to be.
When it comes to stealing the Declaration of Independence, I would probably put him in perfect. You know, if I was trying to steal a history document, yeah, for sure. I'll tell you this, man. I pulled him, kind of pissed. You know, it takes so much to pull a card, and I got him, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. But I'll be honest, I actually like him a lot. I think he adds a lot of value, man. I've been running him as a core staple in my Zero decks because of what he does for Typhoid Mary alone is so insane. And guys, you just don't realize how many locations mess you up. Like, this is what pushed him over the limit. A lot of people thought he was great for locations, great for like the Typhoid Mary thing, hazmat, sure. Where Luke Cage is the greatest, especially in this meta, is all the damn Scorpions, man. Scorpions are everywhere, and guys, confirmation, Luke Cage will take your cards back up. They will take them back up even if they get reduced in hand. So that is what's the best part about Luke Cage. Maria Hill, man, where are you putting her?
Oh my god, it's another card I want to love. Like, it's literally the exact same situation as Coulson, except I like Coulson better. Oh man, it's a pass. It's a pass.
Yeah.
It has to be a pass.
Looking at this entire list, there's only one that's probably going to go and makes Quicksilver look good. Like, she is borderline there because she can give a couple of cards that has some value. Dude, but here's the thing. She's only there for Devil Dinosaur, man. That's the only thing that's going to put her to pass. Like, one-cost cards, like you could...
I know, man.
You get a Quicksilver? What are you going to do with that, you know? It's tough. I don't like her. I have her. She was my first unlock. And I was like, okay, well, I'm never going to use that. And I was very, very depressed. But you know what can cure depression? Is the grass is always greener. Because you know what your next pull could be, Alex? It could be M'Baku. And that was my second pull in my collector caches. I have no problem.
When you can make...
No problem.
I was going to say, when you can make Quicksilver look like Heimdall, you're a terrible card. Like, you are an absolute garbage card. You're so bad. You are so bad that if you didn't remind me that M'Baku existed, I would forget it existed. In fact, now I'm experiencing this like fear of unlocking M'Baku in my collection track. If I waste a card unlock on M'Baku, I'm going to punch my monitor as hard as I can. And then I'm going to punch my second monitor, and then I'm going to smash my phone to make sure I can't play Marvel Snap for a while because I need to walk it off. If I unlock M'Baku, I don't know what I'm going to do.
As 1-800-626 anger management, you can call at any time. It has a free there's operators standing by. No, honestly, here's the thing. I pulled them, all right? And I didn't smash things. I wanted to Hulk smash. I just walked outside, stared at the sun. I stared at the sun. And then I lifted my hands up and I yelled, "Why, God? Why?" And here's the thing. First of all, for you guys out there that pull garbage cards in pool 3, or you pull an M'Baku, just know there's a quote on a wall somewhere. Brighter days ahead. Brighter days ahead. I'm going to put it in my studio.
Sir Cozy standing in the middle of an interstate staring at the sun.
Just, why? Why? Yes. Hey. It was a dark day. It was a dark day.
I can't breathe.
I will say this as Alex gets himself together. Yes, we're going to have the one sole comment that says, well, Cozy, what about a forge into M'Baku into Lockjaw? You can put him back in your deck and he comes out as a whopping 1/4. I wish you well at the bottom ranks. Dude, M'Baku's just, why? He's so bad, man. He's so bad.
It's such a bad card.
He's such a bad card.
It makes no sense.
She-Hulk, man. Where we put She-Hulk, I think this is an easy one. We're going big on time, so I think we could both blast through this one, huh?
I would say that She-Hulk is like definitely, I don't think it's better than Bass. I think it's like fantastic in most decks, near perfect. I would, you want to put perfect? I agree.
No question.
It's a great card. Like, it is such a fantastic effect. It creates so many interesting archetypes, so many interesting mechanics. I think She-Hulk is an excellently, fantastically designed card. I think that like meta-wise right now, I think Bass is like a bigger problem. But I think She-Hulk provides like incredible utility. I love the card, and it's one of the ones I spent my my tokens on. I don't regret it.
Yeah, she could come back. She can be used before her big play. She can be used for one cost or free on turn 6. She can be used in so many different ways, man. She-Hulk fits into every deck. Now Shuri is one that I bought. I bought her. I cracked. I folded very quickly. Bought Shuri. Love her to death, man. Shuri's insane. She fits into legit so many builds. 4 cost is her perfect power. She costs the same as Absorbing Man. And you're doubling your card's power. I think she is what she was hyped up to be. I think she's the perfect card in this series.
I made a tough choice. I actually I passed Shuri. I'm actually tearing up thinking about it, but you know, it was a hard choice, but ultimately you know, I had to make it. But I do think that it's an incredible card.
I passed her. She came back around. I was like, all right, that's a sign. I did Shuri, Red Skull, 30 Taskmaster. It's disgusting. It's so disgusting of a combo. Super Skrull, man. Where do you like him?
I don't want to admit this. I actually bought Super Skrull. I paid the $6,000 for it. And I did experiment a bunch with it. Not an insane amount because I think that so many things could happen that I kind of fell off of the ongoing list. I bought it just before Silver Surfer came out.
Okay.
So then like Silver Surfer came out and I'm like, oh my, this card's good. And I started just playing Surfer decks nonstop, which has basically been the basis of what I've done. So I haven't experimented enough with Super Skrull. However, I do think right now my initial impressions are it is reliant on other cards. And it kind of feels bad in the sense that like you're reliant on your opponent's cards.
Yeah.
And oh man, I think it is such an interesting card and it's such an interesting design. but I'm not quite there. Like, I can't confidently place it yet, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, I don't see him ever. I would put him. I think he'll be here in the future. I think he'll be here as things evolve. I think he's here at the moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think he will be in Fantastic. I think he's gonna be in Reliant for now. So we have 2 in Perfect, which is She-Hulk and Sherry Bast, Absorbing Man, and Luke Cage in Fantastic in most decks. Now we go Thanos, and we could go back and forth. We've talked about this on enough podcasts. We're an hour in. We gotta go quickly here. Where do you want to put him? Honestly, emotions aside.
Honestly, I would put him in Reliant on other cards. I would put him above Galactus, though.
Yeah, I would say I think Thanos is fantastic in most decks because of the Time Stone. That's where I would have him. I think the Time Stones, I still use him so much for that. He adds to some of the better cards in the game. What he does do is he does limit on some. You have to build around him. You can't just rely on him. I love him as a win condition. I would have him in Fantastic in most decks. I think the public would have him in Reliant on other cards. I've now gone on like I'm splitting this boy a lot. I'm on my 3rd split, I think. I love Thanos. I use him a ton. I've climbed with him a ton. Does Thanos win the games for me? No. The Infinity Stones do, and that's what I love. Titania.
I've never seen this played, and I don't have it, so like I almost got to pass on my opinion here. Like, it's one of those things that like on paper, like I can make it a judgment, but if you have more experience, I completely defer to you.
I think I'm going to put her in Fantastic. I haven't used her a ton. I've tested her a bit. I would say Titania is up there on my list. I think she is very big brain played. She fits into most decks. 1/5 is fantastic. 0 decks, you could plop her into to control the opponent if they have 3 cards on their side. Titania is good. I think that we are just beginning to see more of how she works. But a 1/5 man can truly be fantastic in most decks if you play with her the right way. And then we finally have, which by the way, you could do things like Bar with No Name and play like a lower cost card, send her to that side. But then they do it again, and then there's this fight, dude. It's so fun. Lastly, we've got Valkyrie, and Valkyrie is going to be a card that I would put in Fantastic in most decks. Right now, I'm not using her a ton, but she is a very strong control card, man. Very strong control, very great for a lot of decks. I think we're going to see more of her, especially in tournament play.
Yeah, 100%. Like, Princess Peach is going to be like legit in a lot of decks, especially when things get competitive, 1v1 scenarios when you want that added control. I mean, you can't ask for more than that.
Well, guys, that's going to be it. Thank you guys for coming to a very long version of the Snapchat. We're headed to Alex's channel for the other 3 topics. If you're audio listening, we're switching to those subjects now as well. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the longer format. Again, if you have not already, download on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and we'll see you on the next video. Happy snapping.